Who would have thought that the man holding millions of dividends in front of him was once an orphan who couldn't even afford new clothes? At this moment in the office of Pinnacle Garment Factory, the second uncle hands 1.88 million yuan in dividends to Zhang Long, which is his due return for holding 51% of the shares. It should be known that the starting point of all this comes from the 100,000 yuan startup fund many years ago, and more from the second uncle's trust and courage. The second uncle wanted to arrange a decent senior management position for Zhang Long out of concern. After all, he is the largest shareholder of Pinnacle Factory, and being a driver all the time is inevitably misunderstood by outsiders. But Zhang Long insisted on refusing. For him, this low-key company is far more important than false fame. Looking back on those dark years, it was precisely the second uncle's protection that he was able to survive. This kindness has long surpassed money and status. A happy childhood heals a lifetime, while an unfortunate childhood requires a lifetime to heal. Zhang Long's childhood was synonymous with abandonment. After his father took him to do a paternity test, he divorced and went to the south, never to be heard from again. His mother also disappeared, leaving him to live with his seriously ill grandmother, wearing an old clothes until it stinks and living without enough food 3 meals a day have become the deepest brand of his childhood. Poverty brings not only material deprivation but also spiritual trampling. At school, because Zhang Long had no money to change clothes and smelled bad, he became the target of exclusion by his classmates. The two words, "so smelly," were like sharp knives, piercing his young heart. He silently endured the pain of having his books thrown away and being isolated, gradually becoming taciturn, and the shadow of depression quietly enveloped him at this time. Even in the dark, everyone longs for a beam of light in their hearts, and Zhou Qing is that unattainable beam of light in Zhang Long's high school days. She has excellent grades and what outstanding appearance, and is the class flower sought after by everyone. Zhang Long buried this love deep in his heart and even dared not approach. He could only hold the quilt late at night and imagine getting along with her over and over again. This humble secret love became the only comfort in his dark youth. An unexpected collision and a disliked pen became an humiliation that Zhang Long could never let go of in his life. He carefully wiped the pen, only wanting to make up for his mistake, but was met with Wu Yunfeng's violent kick and even his beloved Zhou Qing's cold words, "I don't want this pen anymore." At that moment, all his humility and love were shattered, and a seed was planted in his heart. He must make a name for himself and return the pen to her in a dignified manner. Unable to afford college, Zhang Long had to drop out of school and step into the bottom of society. The scorching sun on the construction site, the boredom of the assembly line, and the cold of the underpass became the norm of his life. He did the hardest work, got the least salary, endured the white eyes of others, but never forgot the oath in his heart. He kept that disliked pen with him all the time, which became the spiritual pillar supporting him to go on. Kindness is a quality engraved in the bones. Even in the mud, Zhang Long never lost this original intention. On a rainy night, he passed the scene of the car accident and rushed to save people without the slightest hesitation. Perhaps even he himself did not expect that this brave act would become a turning point that changed his life. The gears of fate began to turn quietly at this moment. 100,000 yuan was an astronomical sum back then. The car owner's generous reward left Zhang Long bewildered. He had never seen so much money. Desperate, he turned to his uncle, a retired soldier, and gave him the money. His uncle's decision completely changed their lives. To use the money as seed capital to start a garment factory, the former outcast finally saw a glimmer of hope. The road to entrepreneurship was fraught with difficulties. A small factory, limited funds, and a shortage of manpower were all challenges they faced. But his uncle and Zhang Long never gave up. They did everything themselves, handling every step from procurement to production. Countless sleepless nights and countless drops of hard work finally nurtured the flower of hope. Pinnacle Garment Factory, in these challenging circumstances, gradually gained a foothold. Fate is so wonderful. Meeting again after many years is in such a scene. Zhou Qing, the once unattainable class flower, is now begging hard for a financial job, while Zhang Long, who was once disliked by her, has long become the largest shareholder of this factory. Looking at Zhou Qing's back, leaving in tears, Zhang Long's heart was mixed with feelings. He wanted to go forward to help, but he was also full of worries. The inferiority complex buried deep in his heart still couldn't be completely dissipated after all. A class reunion is a time to catch up with old friends friends for many people, but for Zhang Long, it is a test full of complex emotions. When he saw the invitation in the class group, he hesitated, and the scenes of being laughed at and bullied emerged again. But the old pen in his hand reminded him that the years of forbearance and struggle were not just to stand in front of them dignifiedly. In the end, he decided to attend the appointment only to return that pen that carries humiliation and oath. The accord, worth more than 200,000 yuan, is already a symbol of status in the eyes of the classmates. Wu Yunfeng's showing off was met with a lot of flattery. They will never know that Zhang Long, whom they laughed at as a beggar, is sitting in the Audi A6 not far away at this moment. This low-key and luxurious car is a testimony to Zhang Long's years of struggle, and also a silent counterattack to those who once looked down on him. At the moment of passing by, their eyes met, and Zhang Long's heart was stirred. Zhou Qing's sentence, "old classmate, long time no see," made him think he was recognized, and the tension and expectation in his heart were unspeakable. But Wu Yunfeng's appearance was like a basin of cold water, which instantly extinguished his expectations. Looking at the figure of Zhou Qing being pulled away by Wu Yunfeng, I'm afraid only Zhang Long himself can understand the feeling in his heart. A cigarette can divide the so-called class. Wu Yunfeng's soft china is a symbol of success in the eyes of the classmates, while Zhang Long's Hong Shuangxi has become the object of their ridicule. They don't know that this man, smoking 7.5 yuan Hong Shuangxi, already has tens of millions of assets. They don't know that their current ridicule will become a ridiculous joke soon. Zhang Long silently endures all this, and his calmness is the brewing before the storm. Even the former teacher looks at people with colored glasses. When he learned that Zhang Long works in Pinnacle Garment Factory, teacher Jia took it for granted that he was just an assembly line worker, and did not forget to tell him to learn from Wu Yunfeng. This naked contempt is more hurtful than the classmates' ridicule. But Zhang Long still didn't argue. He knew that no matter how many words he said, they were not as convincing as facts. He was waiting for the right time to make all those who looked down on him sit up and take notice. Silence, deathly silence. The moment Zhang Long's Audi car key fell to the ground, all the ridicule and contempt in the private room stopped suddenly. Wu Yunfeng's disbelief and the classmates' stunned expressions all told the shock of this reversal. When the sound of the Audi's unlocking came from a distance, all the ridicule turned into slaps in the face. Who would have thought that this beggar, who was arbitrarily trampled by them, would be an invisible rich man driving an Audi A6? The ugliness of human nature is fully displayed at this moment. They were mocking arbitrarily 1 second and kneeling down to beg for mercy and flatter the neck. The classmates' attitude change, and teacher Jia's deliberate flattery made Zhang Long feel extremely ironic. What he wanted was never these false flatteries, but a belated respect. But these cheap flatteries at this moment will only make him more disgusted with this hypocritical circle.